Hey, I am not sleep deprived. In fact, I am full of sleep right now. What's up? It's a culture detective here investigating your favorite TV shows. And today I'm finally going to be talking about Adolescence. This is a British limited series and it is created by Jack Thorne and actor Stephen Graham, who also plays the father character in the story, and all four of the episodes are directed by Philip Barantini. So, this is a TV show I've been meaning to watch in the beginning of May, but you might be wondering why it took me a whole month to finish this TV show. Well, let's just say I was extremely occupied with watching literally everything else in the beginning of May. So I actually watched episode 1 like a whole month ago, and I didn't watch episodes 2, 3, and 4 until the last few days and this morning. So finally, I finished it. 4 episodes, 4 hours long, and man, it is an interesting TV show. I am truly understanding the buzz around this show. Now, a lot of people have been talking about the show, reviewing the show, and honestly, everything that needs to be said about the show is probably already said. So, in this video, I'll just be talking about what I like and sort of just my experience with going through these 4 episodes. Now, I guess the most defining feature of Adolescence is that every single episode is one shot, and I'm not talking about a fake one shot like 1917. I'm talking about real one shots. Every single episode is 1 hour long take after another. And if you've been caught up with the climate, the cultural climate, you would find that a lot of movies and TV shows nowadays have a lot of one shots. They have a lot of long takes. It's not a new thing anymore. So when I went into Adolescence, I was thinking, how are they going to justify a long take one shot beyond just being a gimmick? Because I feel like a lot of films nowadays have these long take one shots that just that's just there because it looks good. But I but I am happy to announce that Adolescence actually has great reason and great narrative reason behind using this long take. Now, another thing is that this is only 4 episodes long, and I basically knew nothing going into it, so part of me thought that it's going to be the first 4 days of this case, day 1, 2, 3, and 4, but actually that's not the case. Adolescence shows day 1 of Jamie's arrest, day 4, 7 months later, and the last episode takes place 13 months later. Now, because of that, because it isn't like a day an episode, every single episode is about completely different things. And every single episode is basically a different genre in and of itself. So the first episode is basically a police procedural because we have Jamie, a young 13-year-old boy who got arrested on the charge of suspicion of murder. And episode 1 is just him getting arrested, going into the police station and having a medical checkup, talking to a solicitor, talking to the police, and it's just real time unfolding of events of how the police does things and what happens when a child gets arrested. Episode 2 is a kind of this solve the mystery episode, so it is the most entertaining one. Episode 3 is mostly talking psychodrama. Episode 4 is a family drama. So each episode offers something wildly different. And I think that's why this show can keep its momentum, and that's because every single hour is actually different. Now, back to episode 1, the long takes. I mean, sure, when we're dealing with very complicated long takes that starts in a vehicle and now we enter a house and then now and then now we enter another vehicle, and then we enter the police station, and then the camera basically goes from character's point of view to another character, Jamie's point of view, and then the character will follow a random guy, and it's gonna go to the family, the father, mother, and sister of Jamie, and then it's gonna follow the other police officer, and it just follows around and constantly gets distracted. It's very complicated, and when you're dealing with these extreme long takes, you have to deal with two major issues. One is character walking. Two is characters in cars. And when you have characters in cars, like the first time Jamie was in the police car and sort of going to the police station, it's going to take a while. And it's not like the camera can cut because it's a long take. So what the showrunners do, what the director did essentially, is to just add music. So here's a little music for you to pass the time. But later in the show, every time we have a long scene of character walking, it's usually when we are in a very emotional moment, or usually when they're walking towards something that's really important. So, in that case, these walking scenes and driving scenes are no longer just there because you can't cut the camera. They're there for very good reason. And I like to see that in these long takes because, again, unreasonable, unmotivated long takes usually serve nothing other than gimmick. And again, part of the reason why a long take works so well on episode 1 is because we're just as clueless as the characters. So when we see the characters experience anxiety and panic and they don't know what's going on, we sort of experience that together with them in real time. Episode 2, where we enter the school and we mainly follow the two policemen, D.S. Bascom and D.I. Frank. They enter this secondary school where Jamie studied, and this is easily the most ambitious episode here because we enter the school from beginning to end. And it involves so many characters, so many random side characters. This one girl who is best friends with Katie, the victim of the murder, who is experiencing a lot of anger, and we sort of see her like maybe 3 times. These other boys, this son of the policeman, and how he's also facing bullying. There's so many moving pieces, and the camera has to go up the stairs and go down the stairs and go up the stairs again and then do this and go through the window. It's genuinely really impressive, and it kind of reminds me of like Be Gone's long takes because they're also just as ridiculously mechanical. But beyond that, I also think that the chaos in the school environment, the very bad education system, the really intense atmosphere, the small talk, the rumors, the bullying, the tension is all portrayed really, really well. And to top it off, the cherry on top is that the camera kind of flies on a drone and then lands back down at the very end of the episode. Episode 3, holy shit, what a freaking great episode. This is a bottle episode where a psychologist speaks to Jamie, and while Jamie is detained at this training center, and the entire episode is just one very long dialogue between the and the entire episode is just this one dialogue between the psychologist and Jamie, and this is also the episode where Jamie reveals himself for who he is, and the psychologist really, really gets down to the core of the issue. And that's Jamie's worldview, what he thinks of masculinity, what he thinks of women, what he thinks of romance and public perception and peer pressure, and these are all the ingredients that fueled the eventual murder. And it's so interesting because it's such a psychological dissection. It's not rocket science either. I feel like it's not that difficult for a screenwriter to capture a character's psychology just through words. It's not that difficult, but somehow I feel like not enough writers are doing that. where just through talking, only through words, they reveal so much about Jamie's character. And we're part of this investigation, so we're just learning. As we go through the conversation, we're like, oh, so that's why. Oh, and then that happened. Oh, and then it just kind of clicks, and it's brilliant. But also, on top of that, Jamie's behavior, whenever he gets cornered, whenever he feels comfortable, he just switches 180 degrees and he becomes threat mode. He stands up, he smashes a chair, he rages, he tries to scare the psychologist. And you see that, but you can tell that that's an act of defense. Like, it's like a mode. Like, he just switches on and becomes a threat, and then he switches off, and you can see him regretting that rage and feeling guilty about it, and then he switches up again. This conversation is like a dance, because sometimes the psychologist has the upper hand. She has the control of the conversation. Sometimes she loses control and it's Jamie's turn and Jamie's threatening her. Sometimes the conversation is lighthearted and funny. Sometimes it's just very uncomfortable to sit through. It is a roller coaster ride, and it's so damn well written. This is textbook how to write a conversation 101. And also, aside from Jamie, I think the psychologist characters serve a lot of purpose as well, because throughout the entire conversation she must remain having a stone face, because whatever reaction she gives will affect how Jamie speaks. So when Jamie scares her and Jamie's like, whoa, why are you scared? You're scared of a 13-year-old boy? You're scared of a 13-year-old boy? Aren't you embarrassed? I was just thinking, if I was a psychologist, I would have defended myself. I would be like, well, yeah, because you're a murderer, so of course you scare me. But like, instead, the psychologist character was just stone face. Because the truth is, she's talking to a child, and there's no reasoning with a child. The child always has his own reasoning, his own logic, because of his worldview. His brain isn't even fully developed, by the way. Second of all, whatever reactions she gives will affect this conversation's flow. So she has to like be a strong piece of metal that doesn't bend throughout the entire conversation. It's so intricate. It's so intricately written. Throughout the entire episode, there are 3 participants in the story. There's Jamie, the active element, the psychologist, the more reactive element, and there's us, the observer. And somehow the script is also allowing us to be part of this investigation. Anyways, episode 4, we are 13 months after the fact, where we see the family still trying to recover from this incident. And I can't think of a more appropriate way to end the story other than from the perspective of his very own family. It follows a pretty classic structure of family being happy in the beginning, and then sad things happen, and then they're okay again at the end. But the journey feels earned. And it's just a very powerful ending as well, because when Jamie's parents were just confused and they're figuring out, how did this happen? He is our child. How did we let him do something like that? We could have stopped him. Maybe, a lot of would-have, could-haves. We made him. And somehow being parents of a criminal really brings you guilt, because you realize you're the people who made the criminal. And this episode just explores that so well, and overall the show is just really good, well-written, primal drama. And I say primal because it's so simple. There's nothing that complicated about Adolescence, but just through talking and conversation, this show just reveals so much about the people involved, and has so much to say about parenting, father-son relationships, social media, psychology. And also the performances are amazing. Stephen Graham has been doing a lot for a while, but I think this is a career definer for him. What's his name? Owen Cooper as Jamie Miller. Wow. This is, every single year, child actors get better and better. I'm just like, how did you even get that performance? I don't know. So yeah, strong 8 out of 10. So have you watched Adolescence? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.